Hi, sir.
Hi, how are you? Am I audible, visible?
Hello.
Can you see me?
Yes, I can see you. I can hear you, sir. Yeah.
डार्क तो नहीं ना, ठीक है ना?
एकदम ठीक है सर. मेरी आवाज आ रही सर आपको? हेलो सर, कैन यू
Sorry?
hear me? Can you hear me, sir?
हाँ या
ठीक है सर. So we'll be going live on our Facebook, sir. Before that, 2 minutes we can discuss before we go live on the Facebook.
वॉल्यूम
हाँ सर.
हाँ
So-
वॉल्यूम पास
हाँ सर, before we go live, 2 minutes we can discuss, sir. क्या क्या कैसा रहेगा flow before we go live.
या ओके जस्ट मिनट हाँ बेटर ठीक है
Sir, अभी we'll just connect it on Facebook, sir. Just a moment.
How many people are there? Like
Sir, अभी now we'll get a number, sir, on Facebook. Just a moment, sir.
ठीक है, let it come, no problem. Pause.
जय हिंद सर.
Hi Jain.
So, slowly people are joining us, sir. And
Okay, no problem. Let them join.
जय हिंद भैया.
Jai Hind,
Hi.
slowly people are joining us.
जय हिंद भैया.
Jai Hind. Sir, अभी this is just a brief introduction, sir. This is Julie Sharma, मतलब very active in. Sir, अभी this is just a brief introduction, sir. This is Sharma, this is lag, मतलब very active in. This is just a brief introduction. Sharma, मतलब very active in. तो थोड़ा लैग हो रहा है ना? Don't you think?
ना आ रही है आवाज, मेरे को तो आ रही है.
थोड़ा लैग हो रहा है ना? Don't you think?
ना आ रही है आवाज, मेरे को तो आ रही है.
So all of you, welcome to another episode of SHAURYA SMRITI. Today we are. Hello. Fine, Abhi Julie. It's fine. Hello. Fine, Abhi Julie. Fine. Hello. थोड़ा पीछे आ रहा है, मैंने I can hear it, मतलब rebound हो रहा है. पीछे आ रहा है, मैंने I can hear it, मतलब rebound हो रहा है.
भैया आपके आसपास के कोई दो डिवाइस में तो नहीं है कहीं?
No, Julie, नहीं.
भैया आपके आसपास के कोई दो डिवाइस में तो नहीं है कहीं?
नहीं है, नहीं है. हेलो. Julie, अभी now?
हाँ, now it's fine भैया, अभी
Now it's
ठीक है।
fine. ठीक
हाँ
है
जी,
ना?
हाँ जी, हाँ
चलो
जी।
ठीक है, we'll start recording. So welcome to another episode of SHAURYA SMRITI. Today we are indeed privileged to have with us Brigadier SV Bhaskar, VRC 13 Jammu and Kashmir Rifles. So, to give a brief introduction about sir, from OP Vijay, what happened. He was the man to lead the first ever daylight assault in mountain warfare, at least in what it has been recorded in OP Vijay and whatever, I have researched. So he is the man, and Brigadier Amoral, who was the brigade commander, 56 Mountain Brigade. So he has gone on record and told that that was the first daylight assault, which was carried out by 13 JAKRIF, and that was the Alpha Company of Sir, which carried that out in the summer of 99, like June 99. It's 24 years to that day. And sir served the nation for 35 years before hanging his boots last year. So welcome, sir. It's a big honor to have you here. And indeed,
Thanks.
we consider ourselves very, very, very lucky, sir, that you have come here to share your, your experiences from the battlefield. So, sir, to begin with, sir, can you just tell me what was the atmosphere like, sir, in May 1999 when the the things were uncertain in the battlefield? Like there were reports that there are 6 to 8 intruders, patrols were getting lost. Your units at 13 Jacket was in Sopor that time, in the midst of CI ops. Can you take us back to that time and let us know that what was the atmosphere and what was the build up to Op Vijay?
Okay, before that, firstly, let me clarify that that assault which you spoke about, that might be first as far as of Vijay was concerned, because as it was one of the first few attacks. But it will be wrong to say that before that it has not happened. I'm sure it would have happened even in 65, 71 war, even otherwise. Anyway, so coming back to May 99, till end of April or even beginning of May, because we had absolutely no inkling of anything, any build-up of this type, which we later witnessed in that area of Kargil or anything. And we were carrying out normal counterinsurgency operations and so forth. And our tenure had ended, and we were slated to move out to Shahjahanpur in Uttar Pradesh for our peace tenure. And in fact, the advance party had already left. So it was at this time that some reports started trickling in that there was some kind of a problem happening in Kargil. And initial reports, they seem to suggest that there are a lot of militants who have moved in. They are sitting on some of the places. So we did not really feel that there will be a contingency where we will have to move in. But as things slowly started, time started moving, and it was realized that probably firstly the number of people who were sitting there were much more than what could be handled by the local troops. Slowly troops started moving in, and by about 16th or 17th of May, we were also put on alert. We were put on notice, so we knew that we have to move. The picture was still not clear, but to some extent we started getting to know that the people who are sitting there, who have come inside our territory on our side of the line of control, they are not militants, and even if they are militants, at least they are, there's a big number of regular troops along with them. And so it is in this backdrop that slowly, while we were at Sopor, the picture was not really clear. We were not able to get any information. And then finally, we handed over our counterinsurgency responsibilities to some of the unit. We got concentrated in Sopor. And after 4 or 5 days, that was on 5th of June, that we finally got the vehicles. And 6th morning, we moved from there. And the same after we were supposed to have reached in this area across the Zojila Pass. But that day, I was told by the commanding officer to be the last vehicle, just to get any vehicle which breaks down or anything. And in the process, I and Captain Rajiv Kapoor, Major Rajiv Kapoor, we stayed back for that evening in the Sonmar transit camp, while the majority of the unit was across the Zojila Pass and they reached the Gubri camp. So this is how it was, how we moved in, the circumstances under which we moved in. This is what it was.
So, moving forward 10 days to that, June 6th you were inducted, and June 13th we had the biggest victory, like not the biggest, the first victory which gave us a foothold. Like now we got a taste of victory, and second JAKRIF had won at Stololing along with 18 grenadiers. So after that, sir, there was that entire ridge line, that 2 kilometer long ridge line, which had hump 1 till hump 10, then Rocky Knob. That had to be clear before the assault on 5140 could take place. And so 13 JAKRIF was, tasked to do that. You were, sir, in a way, you were a 2IC of the unit, because, Major, you were the second most senior most officer in that unit after Colonel YK Joshi. And you were leading the Alpha company, sir. So it took you 3 days to clear that, sir, because, that was unknown territory for your men. It was mountain warfare. You had already been, a qualified mountain warrior. You had, got an instructor grading in horse. So I'd just like to know, sir, that 3 days, how was your experience, and how did you give us that victory, that first daylight charge on 17th June? So leading up to that, the events and also any acts of gallantry which you recall from that time, sir.
Actually, how it happened was that we were not supposed to originally attack the 5140. Original plan was that after 13 JAKRIF will capture the Tololing, the area from Tololing till the base of 5140, that is the entire hump ridge line. At the end of the hump ridge line, at the base of point 5140, there was a feature which we had named as Rocky Knob. That area was supposed to be captured by 18 grenadiers. So on the 13th June, after the assault was launched by 2 JAKRIF and they captured, thereafter we also moved up, and it was planned that we will reach the Tololing top. And once we reach Tololing top, that is the time when the 18 grenadiers attack would have gone in, and they'll be in the process of clearing the hump ridge line up to Rocky Knob. But while we were on the way, somewhere say more than half the day, it was already daylight. Daylight was over. En route, we were told to move fast because there was some change of plan, and that we were to launch when I say that my company was the leading company, my company was to launch the attack on the hump ridge line. The reason was not known to us, but anyway, we reached, and by the time we reached on next early morning, on 14th, then I came to know the reason that due to certain unfortunate one single shell which fell, enemy shell which fell on Tololing. Due to that, the 18 grenadiers had a massive casualties. They had 9 people dead in that one. So that attack had to be abandoned, and it was decided instead of 18 grenadiers, we will launch that attack. So on reaching the morning, then I was briefed there by then Colonel Kushal Thakur, who was CEO of the 18 grenadiers, and he told me that a few bunkers which are ahead up to about hump 4, hump 3, hump 4, that had already been cleared because the enemy had abandoned that, and the 18 grenadiers boys had been able to clear that. So up to that area we reached, and beyond that we were supposed to launch the attack that evening. But while we were even going to the area, going up to the point which had already been cleared, unfortunately we had one casualty. One of our boys, he was shot by a sniper. He died on the spot. But of course, we went on, and by about before afternoon, we all were in a position from where we were to launch the attack in the evening for the hump and Rocky Knob. So that was the night when finally, when it was evening, we did not know much about we had not seen the area. We did not even have time, in fact, because of all this, unfortunate incident with grenadiers. But we went on, and that area was full of very, very large boulders. Some of the boulders were about, say, 4 to 5 feet in height and about 3 to 4 feet. So those big stones were there. So because of that, as it is going, was very difficult. And because at times we had to, it was not possible with the battle load and our thing, or even otherwise, to jump from boulder to boulder. So we either had to negotiate in between the boulders, or climb on one boulder, get onto the other, get down, then go on to the other boulder, or wherever we found a small space between the boulders, because was we mostly used. And this way, while we were going, my party with a few people, when we were in the front, we did not realize that at some stage, our aim was to avoid walking on the ridgeline. We thought we'll first reach some point and then climb the ridgeline. but we didn't even realize that we went ahead of one of the enemy bunkers. The enemy bunker was a little on top, but on the sides we went a little ahead. And when we were fired upon, that's the time we realized that we had gone ahead and one enemy bunker had already been left behind. So we came back a little. We tried to engage this bunker, but by the time the surprise was lost, and I realized that probably it would be difficult because slowly the dawn was breaking. So we decided not to press forward with the attack, and I started sending the men back. I told them to go back in just one or two so that we don't present a large target. So the men kept going back, and finally I was left along with one last night Harish Pal, and there were my radio operator, and to cover our move, and that included the radio operator of the artillery officer, artillery forward observation officer who was with me. While we were going back, so this person Harish was covering our move, and when we stopped at one place, when he started moving back, we were covering his move by firing. So it is at this time that Harish was unfortunately, he got a bullet on his head and we lost him. And so by the time it was daylight, me, my radio operator, the radio operator of the forward observation officer, and the forward observation officer himself, the four of us were stuck at one place. And then boys from my company only, they came with MMG from behind. They set the MMG and they fired at the enemy. And under that fire, we were under the cover of that fire, we were able to firstly get away, and of course, we were also able to evacuate the body of Harish. So this attack had to be abandoned, and it was 15th of June by this time. So on 15th and 16th June, there was not much of progress. We tried to, probe the enemy position, and it was during this that we came to 2, 3, 4 unfortunate things. Firstly, on 15th June, at the Dras base, due to enemy shelling, many of our men had got injured. And while trying to evacuate those injured, one of our very brave officers, Major Ajay Jasrotia, he had been martyred. And the second thing we came to know was that our commanding officer, Jasbir Singh, he had developed some medical problem, because of which it was not possible for him to go ahead. And therefore, Lieutenant Colonel V.K. Joshi, who was second in command, he was made to, he was given the charge of the unit. He took over as the officiating commanding officer. Then he was at Tolling, and then from Tolling, it was possible for him to see the complete ridgeline. And because while we were going from Tolling towards the ridgeline, it was up and down. But he could see the clear line, and having understood that directly assaulting without a proper artillery support was not possible, or it was not advisable, he spoke at length to Brigadier Amarol, and Brigadier Amarol then understood that it was necessary for the RT firing to be covering fire to be prevalent. So on 17th June, in the afternoon, he set up 3 Bofors guns. There could have been more, but to the best of my knowledge, there were 3 Bofors guns. And he himself was present there. It was the area of the Dras transit camp which had got destroyed. And from there, a very clear view could be obtained of all these bunkers. So from this place, from the Dras transit camp area, these 3 Bofors guns, they engaged these bunkers, and they were able to get very accurate fire, indirect fire road, instead of firing in the indirect road. And in this cover, the enemy had some casualties, and we were able to get a covering fire. And around 3 o'clock, when Jan Joshi told me that this is the right time for me to go in, because the fire from the artillery guns, the Bofors guns, had been very effective, I, along with some of my men, and everyone else moved. And then we started advancing. We were able to clear the bunkers one by one. And some resistance we met, some people ran away, further kept going back. And finally, we reached the Rocky Knob, where again we were fired upon. But by this time, firstly, we had got very close. The men had also realized that this is the best opportunity. And once you start progressing, things start falling into place. We realize that yes, the possibility does exist. And so, firing from all the whichever place it was possible, we kept firing on the Rocky Knob, and finally, we were able to capture it just when it was about to get dark. And There was only one person whom we could take alive, but that person also, by the time we reached, maybe he was alive after that for maybe 1 minute, not more than that. He also died after that. So this happened on the afternoon of 17th June between 3 in the afternoon to about 5, 6 in the evening, you can say. And so we captured this, and immediately we realized that there's a time that the enemy may not be sitting quiet. So before it was totally dark, Major Vikas Mora also moved up there with some of his people. He was the company commander of the Charlie company. So we organized the area of Rocky Knob completely for defending against any contingency if it came up at night. And we plonked ourselves there for the night. And so as luck would have it, this turned out to be the first success of 13th JAKRIF. And once we were able to capture the complete hump ridge line and the Rocky Knob, now it was possible for this area, that is up the area up to the Rocky Knob, to act as a launch pad or a base, firm base from which attack could further be launched at 0.5140, which was a direct climb from there. And 0.510, it was very, very important to clear, because from 0.1540, there was a direct, absolute direct visibility to the complete National Highway 1 Alpha. And till such time enemy was removed from there, our going up to the Rocky Knob was though a victory, but it was not sufficient to prevent observation of the enemy from that area to the National Highway. And so it was still possible for the enemy to bring accurate artillery fire, call for fire and get it and see all our complete movement. So after this, it was possible for the 0.5140 to be captured, while the attack was launched thereafter.
So you have, for the viewers, I'd like to tell that, sir, you have very, downstated your role. I've spoken to the Jawans of, other companies, not only your company, the other companies who are watching this assault from Tololing top. So, sir, they tell me that Jeet ka sehra in the Jeet ka sehra Bhaskar sir pe jata, because Bhaskar sir ko humne dekha hai कि मतलब आपने कैसे western side से the way you attacked. And even though you were a senior major, so you were already had 14 years of service under you at that time, but you led the attack. Generally, the company commander is somewhere after a platoon, but you led from the front, like literally leading from the front in that attack, sir. So just state a little bit about that, sir. Okay, what made you charge ahead of all your men? You were leading them right ahead.
Oh no, charge ahead means that when I got a message from Madan Joshi that this was the opportune time. So naturally that uncertainty of war was there, a little bit of anxiety was there. So as a company commander, of course, I decided that I got up, and of course, I got up, and the moment I said, okay, let's go, and मैं जा रहा हूँ, immediately some of the men also got up immediately with me. And in fact, one of them, Deepak, he even put me by my shoulder and said, "Saab, aap hamare piche ho, hamare aage nahi jaoge." And so then it was just a matter of time, 3 or 4 boys were ahead of me, and thereafter everyone walked behind. So somebody had to initiate. And as a company commander, I think that onus was definitely on me only. And it was a victory of everyone, because one person going alone can only initiate. But for actually being able to capture the objective, everyone was required, and everyone moved that day. And so my contribution as a leader might be there, and it was absolutely, of course, my duty expected out of anyone to initiate. But thereafter, it was just everyone started, and we all moved together.
Sir, coming to the Battle of 5140, like you have already stated its importance in the entire scheme of operations. And young company commander, sir, Captain Sanjeev Jamwal, both were lieutenants before that. Lieutenant Sanjeev Jamwal, Lieutenant Vikram Batra, both were just 24 and less than 2 years of service. So, sir, how do you recall that night? Like in 3:30, you heard, oh yeah, the success signal of Lieutenant
Okay,
Jamwal.
So 18th morning, it's like 17th evening we captured. 18th morning, then Joshi came along with these 2 officers, and from there we carried out a complete appreciation of how exactly the attack was to be carried out. And so it was decided that there were 2 directions, and the 2 companies, that is Bravo company under Sanjeev Jamwal and Delta company under Vikram Batra, they were to attack along these 2 directions, so that the reaction of the enemy is also divided, attention of the enemy is divided, and whichever assault launches succeeds first, that will help the second assault also to further press home the advantage. So the 18th was completely carried out on assessing the routes, carrying out the preparations and making the plan. And on 19th, late in the afternoon, the Bravo and Delta companies slowly in very, very small numbers, they started trickling into my location. And once it was dark, first the company of Sanjeev Jambal, that is Bravo company, they started moving along the left-hand approach. When I say left approach means as you look at the objective, the left-hand spur. And the right spur, after that, the Delta company under Vikram Batra, they took on. And they moved very fast, especially the Bravo company under Jambal moved very fast. And while they were on their way up, and we were all on the same frequency of the radio set, and while they were on the way up, the enemy also would have realized, and slowly one person, enemy person, came on the same frequency, and he gave some abuses, and he said, "Aja upar dekhta hu terko," and he gave certain choices abuses. And this was the time when we realized that the two companies which are going, let them not get distracted from their task. So we also, we and some of my other men who had radio set, we also started, on this kind of a psychological warfare, or we just started abusing them back and started rebutting or replying to their challenges, and told them that these two companies, these people who are coming, they will take care of you. Of course, we used different language, I'll say, abusive language. And after some time, the enemy, these people who were trying to put some kind of a pressure, psychological pressure, they remained quiet. And of course, as I came to the two companies, they were totally unfazed by what was happening. And they simply went on and on. And by about 3 in the morning, or rather just before 3, Jambal was able to reach. And when they came very close to the objective, there was a time they were heavily fired upon. But they used the ground very skillfully. They covered each other's move. And by about 3 o'clock, they were able to capture the left-hand part of the left part of the 0.5140. And that was the time when Jamal gave his victory sign. He said, "Oh, yeah," and we came to know that the Bravo company has captured its objective. And by this time, Delta company, it was still progressing. We were not aware exactly where, but we were confident that they are definitely going to succeed, because the fact that Jamal had succeeded, that itself would have put the rest of the enemy who were on top of 5140 at a disadvantage. So Jambal's company also, from there, they kept firing on the leftover enemy. And with this, as well as with very skillful use of ground and use of fire and move tactics, the Delta company under Vikram Batra, they also reached the top. And just before 5 in the morning or so, the victory call was given by Captain Vikram Batra when he said, "Ye dil mange bo." And by about latest by 5:30, that objective was completely captured. Those enemy who were there, some of them, they ran away. There was a rope which they had tied, just going backwards into the deep gorge. So they ran away from there. Rest of them, those who had died, of course, their bodies were lying there. So this way, on 20th morning, by about 5:36, this objective was also captured. And with the capture of this objective, now the area which was beyond this, the 0.1540 being the highest, the observation of on a very, very long stretch of the National Highway 1 Alpha, it was removed. And that was a place which earlier it was under the enemy observation, and therefore enemy could bring observed artillery fire on it, and they could see all our movement. But a long stretch of National Highway 1 Alpha was this period of the enemy's domination.
Thank you so much, sir. And all of you, I am sure you would have seen that photo of Captain Batra with that machine gun after the Battle of 5140. So many of you might not be aware that sir was the senior officer who was there with Captain Batra. Captain Batra had accompanied sir for that press briefing. So, sir, I would just like to tell you, sir, you were a senior, a senior major, quite senior to Captain Batra. And still, when when this media attention and everything came up, once you had done your interaction, you just left it to your junior, to take it forward. And
yeah, I covered my part of the attack. and thereafter Vikram covered his part of the attack. So it's just a matter of chance also that it was the sequence in which the attacks went on that we were covering our respective battles. So this picture which was taken when we were displaying that heavy machine gun, it just so happened that Vikram had just covered his, so he happened to be ahead. Just a matter of coincidence, I say nothing else.
It's quite magnanimous of you, sir. Like, when I look at it, back, giving over to your junior, that is something many not do, sir. Even in the corporate world, not only in the army, even in different worlds, like people like to take the credit, but it was very, magnanimous of you to do that.
No, I'll say that especially when in these kind of circumstances, when it's not a matter of corporate profit, getting an order or losing an order, but here something else was at stake. The life of man, your own life, your own honor, the success and success or failure would have mattered, of course, definitely for the country or the army, but even for the unit as such, and for you individually, these things matter a lot. So under these circumstances, it is rare, if at all any, to try to use this as an opportunity for self-projection at the cost of others, and it's just a coincidence.
Now coming to the battle of 0.4875, sir, like after you had a break, rest and recoup of around 6 to 7 days, you were de-inducted to Gumri and then you were sent back to Mataing to launch attack on 0.4875. Sir, Mohinder Puri, who was the div commander, Lieutenant General Mohinder Puri, he's written in his book that 0.4875 was strategically and tactically the most important feature I wanted as a commander. He's gone on record and told that it was the most important peak I wanted, and he had selected your battalion, the 13th JAKRIF, which was actually given to 192 Brigade. He had termed your battalion as the lucky mascot to carry out operations on 0.4875. Would you like to tell us about that, sir? That's a battle in which your unit won 2 PVCs, many Veer Chakras, and a host of Sena medals. So about the battle of 4875 and its importance, sir. How did it progress?
Okay, initially we were supposed to launch an attack on Tiger Hill, and because even after capture of 5140 and the small peaks around it, the observation on this national highway was still there on this stretch because the enemy was still in occupation of Tiger Hill and 0.4875. And so this two attacks were important. These two features were important. And when we were going for carrying out a reconnaissance from a vantage point as to how we will attack the Tiger Hill, that's the time we got a message to come back. We didn't know the reason, but once we got back, we were told that there was a change in plan, and it was decided by the 8th Mountain Div, the General Mahendra Puri, who was the COC of 8th Mountain Division, that 0.4875 had to be captured first. And in conjunction with that, of course, a separate attack was going to be launched for Tiger Hill also, for which other troops had been earmarked. So we were placed under the command of 79 Mountain Brigade. And so we moved there, my company along with Charlie Company. Now Charlie Company was under Major Gurpreet. So on the night we moved there, and we reached the headquarters 79 Mountain Brigade, which was in the Mashko Valley, tucked in a narrow gorge. And after we reached there, in the morning we were given the initial briefing at the headquarters 79 Brigade, and also by the in the op room of 17 Jat. They told us, and thereafter I, along with Kan Joshi, I went for to a vantage point from where we could carry out a reconnaissance of the 0.4875. Once we reached that point, we were met there by the officers of 17 Jat, which included Anuj Nair, and there he briefed us in detail. And after this detailed briefing, I was told by Kan Joshi that since my company was going to launch attack along with Gurpreet, that is Charlie Company, he said that you can stay here only and carry out a little more recce, and the Alpha Company will fetch up. So I stayed back along with Anuj Nair. He was from 17 Jat, and carried out further reconnaissance. My company caught up along with the Captain Major Gurpreet's company, that is the Charlie Company. And on the night of 4th July, it was decided that the attack will be launched on this feature. Again, there were two approaches to the 0.4875. So it was decided that the left approach that will be taken by Charlie Company under Major Guppreet, and the right approach that will be taken by my company, Alpha Company. So on just before we were about to move on 4th July, we also got a message from General Mahendra Puri that unlike in the previous attacks, he said that the leading platoon will be there, the company commanders will follow that and not be in the front. So that order was passed to us. It was ensured that we were in the in our order of march, we were placed that way. But of course, as we went at times, since it was a dark pitch night, just to navigate better, or at times even to build up the confidence of the men, we did move up a little bit, but some men were already ahead of us at all times. And while we were moving like this, we kept moving, and we were able to achieve a lot of surprise, because we were able to reach both my company and Major Guppreet's company. We were able to reach almost 150 to 200 meters short of the objective. But by this time, with the kind of heavy artillery fire which had gone on, enemy had probably guessed that something is on, and they kept firing what we call as the illuminating rounds. It lights up the area for about 1 to 1.5 minutes. But the moment this illumination round went up, we all immediately lied down wherever we were without making any noise, without making any movement. So the enemy, even though it was trying to observe, it could not detect till about the last 200 meters that both the companies had come that close. But that was the time when they realized, and thereafter heavy firing started. And after this, the move of both the companies became very slow. We had to really, move meter by meter, inch by inch, and slowly under our fire as well as the fire from each other, Guppreet's company, Charlie Company, was able to capture the left side of their objective. And having captured their objective, and in the capture itself, of course, they suffered many casualties, and of course, Rifleman Sanjay Kumar, who was later awarded Paramveer Chakra, he was very badly injured, and of course, he could be evacuated. And we were able to somehow, reach very close, and we also lost one of our boy Manohar. But after this, since the Charlie Company had captured their side, under the support of their fire, we were able to capture our side of the .4875. And so you can say that by about afternoon, or just short of about 1 o'clock on 5th of July, the .4875 top was captured. And so that's the time we felt that yes, our objective has been captured. It's a different story that thereafter we came to on the night that some enemy was still present on the other side, and heavy firing went on between us and the people who were on the other slope, the slope which ran away from .4875. Enemy was still there. So that's a different story than thereafter how they were engaged, how Captain Naveen and Nagappa got injured in the process. Thereafter, Captain Vikram Batra took over and went to carry out a reconnaissance, during which he came to face with enemy and all. And then finally, the Delta Company, the company commander by this time was Major Vikas Bora. They were able to capture this feature on 7th of July. So on 7th of July by afternoon, our actual capture of the objective was complete. By 5th afternoon, the .4875 top was captured, and the subsequent 2 days were required because it was realized only later that more enemy was present, and it took us that much extra time, in which unfortunately we lost a few more people, including the gallant Captain Vikram Batra.
So you spoke about Captain Naveen Nagappa, sir. He was just 6 months into the service that time. He was in attached. He was just 6 months into the army, sir, and he was an attached officer. Could you speak about him a little more, like on how he held back that for one day till the time Vikram Batra evacuated him from that place? If you could briefly tell about him.
He was the company second in command to Vijay Guppreet. And after we captured the .4875, then the Delta Company also moved up, and Karan Joshi also moved up. And it was decided that, to defend the .4875 top against any counterattack by the enemy who were sure to try and recapture it, the bunker which was on top of .4875, that was occupied by the men of Charlie Company. turn by turn. So it was in one such time when Naveen and Nagappa was there along with few men. They realized that enemy was trying to carry out a counterattack, and that's the time they realized that enemy was still there on the one more slope just going away from the top of 0.4875. And this slope we later named it as, rather we named it as ledge. And in the process of trying to defend that place, they were able to bring about accurate fire. They were able to ensure that the enemy is not able to advance. So that's the time then the enemy made use of grenades. So Naveen also lobbed grenades. Naveen and his men, they lobbed grenades back. But unfortunately, due to some problem, our grenades they malfunctioned. But what Naveen did was that the enemy, they had come close, but they were in a little hiding. They were able to lob the grenade into this bunker. But there is a time lag from the time the grenade is reached. It will take 2 or 3 seconds before it will blast. So Naveen very intelligently and with extreme courage and showing extreme presence of mind, I'll say, 2 or 3 such grenades, which were successfully lobbed into his bunker. He picked them up and threw them back at the enemy. And these grenades, they were bursting on top of the enemy itself. So it might have caused some casualty also. But thereafter, one such grenade, which again fell, when it was thrown back, unfortunately, I think it hit some stone, some part of the bunker. It was a loose, kind of a rocky this thing, immediately made. And that hit in the darkness and it came back instead of going towards the enemy. And in that blast, Naveen had a major injury. And in this injury, of course, because of this, he was hospitalized for a long time. But during this time, he showed extreme courage, extreme presence of mind. I could, I was just next to Rishi when he spoke, he gave the report about the area. So the cool manner in which he was speaking, that was extraordinarily good. That showed his braveness, bravery, as well as presence of mind, and the fact that he was absolutely determined to fend off the enemy at all costs, and which of course he successfully did. He kept his word.
Speaking about Captain Batra, sir, you were on the listening, as you told. You heard him, speak for the last time when he was going for that recce. So how did you, sir, digest that news? Like, what had happened that?
What happened was that after Naveen had got injured, then the Delta company, it was in charge that time. Charlie company was holding that, and my company was holding the right side of the stop. But Delta company had been given the responsibility to clear that ledge area. So at this stage, and before that, that complete day, a lot of firing was going on. We were firing at each other, and we were quite close to the enemy, and we all were in hiding, and we were just looking for some chance or other. When enemy popped up his head, we fired at them. A lot of abusing was going on, verbal abusing, just to put the pressure on each other. And so after Naveen got injured, so the Delta company realized that they had to get a slightly better information about the ledge area. So as we reconstruct the event later, we came to know that Vikram Batra, he decided that on behalf of the company, he will go ahead, and he went along with the 2 men along with Subedar Raghunath, and to carry out a reconnaissance from a point so that he could get more information about exactly how the enemy was spread or deployed on the ledge, so that the attack could be successfully launched. And while carrying out this recce, he saw there was a little bit of a gap between the boulders. And so he tried to see the enemy through this gap to assess as to how the enemy was deployed, how it was spread on the ledge. And during this, he came face to face with some enemy who were on the other side of the gap, and probably in a intense, you can say, reflex action. Enemy fired at him, he fired at enemy. I think it happened near simultaneously, maybe 1 or less than a second gap between the 2 people firing at each other. And how many enemy were there, I don't know, but definitely there were 2 to 3 minimum. And in this process, that enemy which was there on the other side, they died, but they were also able to inflict, fatal injuries on Vikram. He got a bullet on his chest, and as he fell down under the impact of the bullet, the same time an RPG was fired from behind by the enemy. That also hit his, the splinters of that RPG hit him on his back, But the injury on his chest, that itself, I think, had probably wounded and martyred him. And so after this happened, that's the time the Delta Company fully got charged up, and the enemy also lost some people in this process. And thereafter, on the morning of 7th, further reconnaissance was carried out, and more fire support was given. The rocket launchers were fired upon the enemy at the stage, and that is when by about 11:30 or so, the Delta Company under Major Vikas they launched the attack, and this was to be our final assault. And the enemy was captured gradually, and a lot of many dead bodies we found there, and the enemy was able. We were able to drive the enemy out from that ledge area also. And with the capture of ledge, it's around on afternoon on 7th that we could say that the .4875 was captured in toto. Even though on 5th July itself, we had captured sufficient area to ensure that the enemy's observation from .4875 on a vast stretch of the Mashko Valley as well as the National Highway was removed. But the danger of enemy being so close and trying to dislodge us and regain, get the .4875 back was very much alive. So by 7th July afternoon, it was ensured that, or we were able to term our capturing of .4875 as complete.
So you had spoken about Major Ajay Jasrotia when we are speaking about the Dras, the shelling at the Dras base camp. A little bit about him, sir, because he was quite close to you in the valley. You had operated together. You had done many operations together. If you could tell us about that answer from the unit from OP Vijay, Major Ajay Jasrotia.
Ajay was actually not only very Joshila, he was a very Joshila, very physically extremely strong, very strongly built officer, and absolutely daring, courageous. He was what one can say is absolutely fearless. And when we moved in there, I think from what I could make out from the way he was speaking, he was looking forward to this kind of an action. But unfortunately, 2 or 3 days before this, when we were go up, he developed very serious corns in his feet. So initially, I think he tried to hide it. But then he realized that pain was too obvious, and so he had to show it to the doctor, Captain Rajesh Adav. And after seeing it, Adav said that it will take a little time, but it will heal. So he gave him corn caps and some other medicine. And the corn cap, once he wore, it was not possible for him to walk. So it was decided that he will catch up with us later. He will join his company later in the second attack or subsequently. Because we didn't know how the offensive is going to progress. So we couldn't have exactly pinpointed as to when and at what stage he will join. But it was decided that the moment he gets okay, and knowing him fully well and the kind of physical fitness he had, we knew that the moment he gets okay, he will just rush to where the rest of the company was. But unfortunately, that was not to be there because there was a heavy shelling on the area, during which our men got injured, and without bothering for his own safety, he tried to evacuate them. He did successfully evacuate all injured people, but in the process, he was hit on the spine by a very sharp sharpnel of this artillery shell, which was being fired by the enemy. And when Captain Rajiv Kapoor went to him and said, "Okay, let's also move out from this place," that's the time he told that you move away, I can't move because I'm totally immobile. And that's the time Captain Rajiv Kapoor realized that his back was completely bleeding, and then he realized that there was a spinal injury. So he and two more people, they evacuated him. But by this time, I think firstly he had lost sensation because of the injury to the spine. A lot of bleeding had taken place, and while all this was happening, he ensured that the men who were injured, he tried to evacuate them first. I mean, though it's only in hindsight we can say that possibly had he, after getting injured, tried to get away himself, possibly he could have survived, but that's only just a guesswork. We don't know the extent of the injury that it suffered the moment it hit him, and unfortunately died, and we lost a very brave war.
And a little bit about Captain Batra, sir. He was the first officer. In fact, you were the first officer to ever meet him, like first 13 ZAC officer to ever meet him. And then you had a media. You were there with him in the valley, of course, at different locations. And then again in the, in the OP Vijay, you were there with him during the interaction. Little bit about his, nature, his just 25, sir. What did you make out of him?
Yeah, he was again, a very daring, also quite a jovial person, happy-go-lucky person. But when it came to the professional work, he was absolutely serious. He was quite keen to learn things. He had joined us in January 98. And so by the time we went to the war, in between, he had gone for some of his courses also. But while he was there in Sopur, he was a very active, a very keen participant in all operations, all patrols that we went. And he was also looking forward to, encounters with the militants. And in his area, whenever the company commander was on leave, he was equally effective. He had established a very good rapport with the civilians. He had established a very good intelligence network, and he used to get very good information about the movement of militants. And when we moved for this attack also, he was full of, looking forward to the action. And the first attack, that the way he was able to ensure that his company, they remain unfazed in spite of whatever abusive language enemy was using. He was able to, ensure that it did not affect their movement, it did not affect their, aim towards achieving the objective at any cost. And in the second attack, again, when he realized that Naveen had been very badly injured, he took it upon it himself to go and carry out this recce. And he did it was a great personal risk, which everybody was aware, because in this kind of a scenario, we know that danger may be lurking just next to you at every second. But in spite of that, he, as a truly brave officer, truly brave young leader, he went with his duty without, having second thoughts about what is to be done. And in the process, we were able to get some information, but we lost him in this process. He made a supreme sacrifice for the unit and for the nation.
So lastly, sir, message to the youth right now, and personal your story, like how did you join the army, and how would you like to tell the people? So I'm sure, I'm aware that it's 4 decades since when you joined and now, but a message, things which have remained the same. Any message to the youth, sir? Like, you have been at so many places across the country. Like, you have been a instructor at Hawes, you have had several tenures in the Valley, you have been at the LC, you have been in the Northeast, you have been to UN missions. So just a mission, just a little bit of you can say enriching thought to the current youth, like not only the army, like even the common youth who don't join the army. Any message from your side, sir?
I had joined in 82 January. I joined NDA. Thereafter 3 years there and 1 year in IMA. I was commissioned in 85 December. So till December 22, it was a journey of about 37 long years. Even today, there is no dearth of youth who are wanting to join the army. While a lot of alternate careers have opened up, the economy has really improved, but still there is no dearth of people who are very keen to join the army. My message to all of them will be that it is a very great career, a very great profession. In fact, it's a profession first and a career later. And armed forces, whether it is the army, the navy, or the air force, they are a very, very attractive proposition for those who want an adventurous life, a life full of meaning, life with a lot of variation, a lot of satisfaction. So those who are keen to join, they should methodically go about it, and all the avenues are there, whether through the NDA, through the CDS exam, through the various technical entries, NCC entries. There are a lot of vacancies for the women also. So they should make their best try, and even if they join for a short while as a short service officer and leave the army after 10 to 14 years, even then, whatever they learn in the organization for those 10 to 14 years, that is something which will ensure that they will succeed everywhere else in life. And success not only in terms of, monetary gains, in terms of reaching a position, but in character building. The type of qualities which the army will build in those few years which they stay, that will stay on with them. Those are very formative years, and that will ensure that they will look at life in a very positive manner at all times. They will have that attitude of never say die, of looking through difficulties, trying to look for opportunities within difficulties, and finding a way towards that. So that the aim of winning at all cost. When I say all cost, I'm not meaning the unethical ways, but the fact that once you are determined to win, you will find a way, because there is always a solution. You only have to look for it. So those who are keen for the armed forces, they must join this organization, and this is a very attractive proposition, as I said, full of adventure, full of variation, and even from the point of view of pay and perks, let me assure you, it's a very good job. It's absolutely wrong in case somebody is thinking that people are not paid well or anything. We are paid sufficiently well, and it's a absolutely good career. And the kind of beyond the pay and perks and other things are adventure. There is also the kind of a family relation which we build. That entire armed forces, even if I don't know someone, if I have work, I just walk into someone's office, introduce myself and make a request. Things are done. It's understood that we help each other. We don't have to personally know each other because we are part of a much larger family. So my message to them will be that do join this organization, and you will have only good things in every way for waiting for you.
Thank you so much for that, sir. I would just like to introduce Julie Sharma to you, sir.
Okay.
Julie Sharma, from the past many years, she has been unconditionally, without anything in return, without asking for anything in return. She's been visiting families of martyrs, our living legends who are there. She lives in Noida, sir. So she's there everywhere. Like, she works in Amazon, but Amazon is her, second or third, love. Her first love is the forge, and she's there everywhere, sir. Like, be it any book launch, be it at any martyrs memorial function, be it at the birthday, at the martyrdom day. So she's there everywhere, and you can see that there's a group of 40 odd volunteers, 40-50 odd volunteers they have, and you can say she's the glue, she's the leader which keeps them together. And they have found out many such families, martyr families, which have not been known before, and she's doing very selfless services. Just wanted to introduce to this special person.
It's really an honor to meet such people who are working beyond their call. It is not something for which they will be paid or any kind of recognition will come their way. But of course, I don't have any doubt that they are not even bothered on those issues. They are not looking for any monetary or any other kind of incentive in terms of being recognized by the masses or anything. The selfless way in which they are going about it is just flowing out of a passion which is inbuilt in them, and that includes the passion not only or their they're revering the armed forces or having a regard for the armed forces, but also something which just makes you want to serve the humanity at large. So I am really appreciative of such people who, for no ulterior motive, for no gains, they are just relentlessly going on with this kind of noble tasks.
So, sir, thank you so much. We'll end it here. It's been refreshing, enriching, educational to have you with us. And I'm sure I look forward to such things in the future, sir. Thank you so much. And we are hugely indebted to you for giving us your time. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot. And thanks a lot, Julie. Do well. All the best to both of you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Jai Hind, sir.
Bye. Jai.
Bye-bye.